Hello, my dear friends. You are lying in a bed that is not your own. The sheets beneath you are damp with sweat that has soaked through to the straw mattress below. Your eyes are open, but the darkness of the room is so complete that you cannot tell if you are truly awake. Somewhere in the distance, a church bell tolls. You count the strikes. 1, 2, 3. It is 3 in the morning, and you have been waiting for dawn since the sun went down. The air in this room is thick. It smells of tallow candles that have long since burned out. It smells of vinegar, which someone splashed across the floorboards in a desperate attempt to purify the space. It smells of something else, too. Something sour and metallic that rises from your own body. You do not know what is wrong with you, neither does anyone else. The physician who visited yesterday pressed his ear to your chest. He examined the color of your urine in a glass vial. He asked about your dreams. Then he shook his head and muttered something about an imbalance of humors before collecting his fee and disappearing into the evening. You are alone now. The servant who was assigned to watch over you fell asleep hours ago in the chair by the door. You can hear her breathing, slow and rhythmic, a sound that should be comforting, but somehow makes you feel more isolated. Your throat is so dry that swallowing feels like dragging rough cloth across raw flesh. There is water in a pitcher on the table beside you, but your arms feel too heavy to reach for it. So you lie still. You stare into the blackness above you, and you wait. This is what illness looked like for most of human history. Not the sterile hum of hospital machines. Not the quiet efficiency of nurses checking monitors. Not the small comfort of knowing that someone, somewhere, understands what is happening inside your body. For our ancestors, sickness was a journey into the unknown. It was a descent into darkness with no map and no guide. It was hour after hour of lying still, listening to the sounds of your own body failing, wondering if morning would bring relief or if it would never come at all. We think of medical knowledge as something that has always progressed. We imagine that each generation knew a little more than the one before. But the truth is far more unsettling. For thousands of years, humanity was groping in the dark. The theories that doctors believed were not just incomplete, they were often catastrophically wrong, and the treatments they prescribed did not merely fail to help, they frequently made everything worse. Tonight we are going to lie down in those sick beds of history. We are going to wait through those long nights. We are going to feel the terror and the confusion and the desperate hope that somehow, against all odds, the body might heal itself. Because that was usually the only real medicine available, the body's own stubborn will to survive. So, before you get too cozy, take a second to gently tap that new hype button YouTube just added. It really does help little guys like me push through the algorithm. And be sure to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy this strange little corner of quiet storytelling. Drop a comment with where you're listening from and what time it is for you. It's strangely comforting to know who else is drifting off with us around the world. Now get comfortable, let the day melt away, and we will drift back together into the quiet corners of the past. Let us begin in the ancient world. In a place where illness was understood not as a biological process, but as a message from the gods. You are in Mesopotamia, the land between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. The year is approximately 1750 BCE. You are a merchant, successful enough to afford a modest house with walls of mud brick and a roof of woven reeds. You have a wife and 3 children who depend on you, and for the past 5 days you have been unable to rise from your sleeping mat. It started with a headache, a dull pressure behind your eyes that you attributed to too much time in the sun. Then came the fever, then the vomiting, then a rash that spread across your chest and arms like spilled wine soaking into linen. Your wife was summoned an Aishipu. This is not quite a doctor in the way we would understand the word. He is something closer to a priest, a diviner, a reader of omens. He enters your home just after sunset, carrying a clay tablet covered in tiny wedge-shaped marks. These are the diagnostic texts, collections of symptoms and their meanings that have been passed down for generations. The Ashipu kneels beside you and begins his examination. He notes the color of your skin. He observes the way your eyes move when he speaks to you. He asks whether you have had any unusual dreams. He wants to know if you have recently quarreled with a neighbor or failed to make an offering at the temple. Because illness in this understanding is not random. It is not a matter of invisible creatures or infected wounds. It is a sign that something has gone wrong in the spiritual order of the universe. Perhaps you have offended a god. Perhaps a demon has taken up residence in your body. Perhaps an enemy has paid a sorcerer to curse you. The Ashipu consults his tablet and frowns. He tells your wife that the signs are ambiguous. The illness could go either way, but he will do what he can. He begins to chant. The words are ancient, older even than the city you live in. They are incantations designed to drive out the evil forces that have invaded your flesh. As he chants, he ties knots in a cord of colored wool. Each knot is meant to bind the demon, to trap it, to weaken its hold on you. When the chanting is finished, he places the knotted cord beneath your sleeping mat. He leaves a small clay figurine by the door to guard against further spiritual attacks. And then he tells your wife something that will determine your fate. He says that she must wait and watch through the night. If you survive until dawn, the treatment is working. If you do not, then the demon was stronger than his magic, and there is nothing more to be done. Your wife thanks him. She pays him with a small amount of silver. And then she settles down beside you to begin her vigil. The hours pass slowly. You drift in and out of consciousness. Sometimes you are aware of her presence, the soft sound of her weeping, the touch of her hand on your forehead. Sometimes you are somewhere else entirely. You are walking through fields of barley that stretch to the horizon. You're standing at the edge of a great river, watching the water flow past. You are in a dark place where voices whisper things you cannot understand. This is what waiting felt like. Not the busy distraction of modern hospitals, not the reassurance of test results and treatment plans. Just the slow passage of time and the terrible uncertainty of not knowing what was happening inside your own body. The Mesopotamians were not foolish people. They built cities and irrigation systems. They developed mathematics and astronomy. They created one of the world's first written legal codes. But when it came to disease, they were operating with a completely wrong model of reality. They believed that the human body was a battleground between good and evil forces. They believed that symptoms were coded messages that could be interpreted like any other omen. They believed that the right words, spoken in the right way, could command the spiritual forces that controlled health and sickness. And so they developed an elaborate system of diagnosis and treatment that was internally consistent, intellectually sophisticated, and almost entirely useless. The Ashipu who treated you was not a fraud. He genuinely believed in what he was doing. He had studied for years to master the diagnostic texts. He had memorized hundreds of incantations. He had performed countless rituals that sometimes, by pure chance, coincided with the patient's recovery. Those coincidences were enough to sustain the system. Because human beings are very good at finding patterns, even when those patterns do not exist. Every time a patient recovered after a ritual, it seemed like proof that the ritual worked. Every time a patient died, it seemed like proof that the spiritual forces were too powerful or that some detail of the treatment had been performed incorrectly. The system could not be falsified because it could explain every outcome. This is a pattern we will see again and again as we journey through history. Medical theories that seem logical, treatments that seem reasonable, practitioners who are sincere and well-intentioned, and patients who suffer and die anyway, never knowing that the very people trying to save them are making things worse. Let us move forward now. 1,000 years pass. We are in ancient Egypt, in the city of Thebes. The great temples rise against the desert sky. The Nile flows green and sluggish in the summer heat. And you are lying on a bed in a house of whitewashed mud brick, watching a man with a shaved head examine a scroll of papyrus. This is a swan, an Egyptian physician. He is more specialized than the Mesopotamian Ashipu. Egypt has developed something closer to a medical profession. There are doctors who treat only eyes. There are doctors who treat only teeth. There are doctors who treat only the diseases of women, and there are general practitioners like the man now studying your case. You have been sick for 3 days. The symptoms are similar to what you experienced in Mesopotamia: fever, weakness, a cough that brings up blood. But the explanation you receive is different. The Egyptian physician does not speak of demons or angry gods. Instead, he speaks of channels. He believes that the human body contains a network of tubes called metu. These channels carry air, blood, water, and other substances to every part of the body. Health depends on these channels remaining open and flowing freely. Disease occurs when something blocks or corrupts the flow. This is a significant conceptual advancement. The Egyptians have moved toward a naturalistic understanding of the body. They are beginning to think of illness as a physical process rather than a purely spiritual event. But they are still very far from the truth. The metu they imagine do not correspond to any actual anatomical structures. Their ideas about what flows through these channels are largely fictional. And their treatments, though less reliant on magic, are still based on false premises. The physician tells you that your channels have become clogged with a substance called wikadu. This is a kind of rotting material that forms when food is not properly digested. It travels through the body, corrupting everything it touches. The cure, he explains, is to purge this substance from your system. He prescribes a remedy. It is a mixture of several ingredients: honey, which will soothe your throat; milk, which will strengthen you; and something else, something you would rather not think about. The Egyptians believed that feces had powerful medicinal properties. The logic was simple, if repellent. If wekadu was rotting material, then perhaps the most potent rotting material of all could drive it out. Fight fire with fire. Fight corruption with corruption. You drink the mixture. Your stomach heaves. Your body convulses. And through the long night, you purge everything you have eaten for days. The physician visits again in the morning. He seems pleased. The purging, he says, is a sign that the treatment is working. The wekadu is being expelled. You should continue the treatment for several more days. What he does not know is that your body is now fighting on 2 fronts. Whatever illness originally afflicted you is still present. And now you are also severely dehydrated from the purging. Your electrolytes are dangerously imbalanced. Your immune system, which needs energy to fight the infection, is being starved of resources. If you survive, it will be despite the treatment, not because of it. The Egyptian medical texts that have come down to us are remarkable documents. They show careful observation, systematic thinking, and genuine concern for patients. The physicians who wrote them were trying their best, but they were working with a fundamentally incorrect model of the body. And that model led them to prescribe treatments that often did more harm than good. This is a difficult truth to accept. We want to believe that medicine has always been a force for healing. We want to honor the dedication and sincerity of ancient practitioners. But the reality is that for most of human history, the safest thing to do when you fell ill was to stay as far away from doctors as possible. Let us continue forward. We are leaving the ancient Near East behind. We are traveling now to Greece, to the island of Kos, to a place that will shape medical thinking for the next 2,000 years. We are going to meet Hippocrates. You have heard this name before. Every modern doctor, upon completing their training, takes an oath that bears his name. Hippocrates is called the father of medicine. He is celebrated as the man who transformed healing from superstition into science. And there is some truth to this reputation, but there is also a great deal of mythology. The real Hippocrates lived on the Greek island of Kos, around 400 BCE. He was not a single heroic figure, but rather the most famous member of a school of physicians who practiced and taught on the island. Many of the texts attributed to Hippocrates were probably written by his students or by later followers. We cannot be certain which ideas were his and which were added by others. What we can say is that the Hippocratic tradition represented a genuine revolution in medical thinking. The Hippocratic physicians rejected supernatural explanations for disease. They argued that illness had natural causes and could be understood through observation and reason. This was a profound philosophical shift. It meant that sickness was no longer the arbitrary punishment of angry gods. It was a comprehensible process that followed predictable patterns. And if you could understand those patterns, perhaps you could learn to intervene. This is the good news about Hippocratic medicine. The bad news is that the patterns the Hippocratic physicians thought they discovered were almost entirely wrong. You are now a patient in ancient Greece. You have traveled to the temple complex at Epidaurus, one of the great healing centers of the classical world. You are lying on a bed in a cool, shadowed room. The air smells of herbs and incense. Outside, you can hear the murmur of other patients, the footsteps of attendants, the distant sound of prayers being offered at the temple of Asclepius. A physician enters. He is a dignified man with a carefully trimmed beard and the calm, reassuring manner of someone who has seen many cases like yours. He sits beside your bed and begins to ask questions. When did the symptoms begin? What did you eat and drink in the days before you fell ill? What is your occupation? Where do you live? What season of the year is it? These questions might seem familiar. They are the kind of questions a modern doctor might ask. But the purpose behind them is very different. The Hippocratic physician is trying to determine your constitutional type and the specific imbalance that is causing your illness. He believes that your body contains 4 fundamental fluids. These are the humors. Blood, which is hot and wet. Phlegm, which is cold and wet. Yellow bile, which is hot and dry. Black bile, which is cold and dry. Health exists when these humors are in proper balance. Disease occurs when one humor becomes excessive or deficient. The physician examines you carefully. He looks at your skin color. He studies the whites of your eyes. He feels your forehead for heat. He asks you to describe the color and consistency of your urine. He wants to know about your bowel movements. He even asks about the quality of your dreams. Every detail is meaningful. Every observation provides a clue about which humor is out of balance. After his examination, the physician announces his diagnosis. You have an excess of blood. Your body is too hot and too wet. The cure is to remove some of this excess fluid and to prescribe a regimen that will cool and dry your system. This is when the treatment begins. An attendant brings a sharp bronze instrument and a bowl. The physician makes a small incision in the vein inside your elbow. Blood begins to flow. It fills the bowl, dark and warm. You feel lightheaded. You feel cold. You feel your strength draining away with every heartbeat. But the physician seems satisfied. This is bloodletting, the most common medical treatment in the Western world for over 2,000 years. It was performed on everyone from peasants to kings. It was prescribed for everything from fevers to headaches to madness. It was considered so fundamental to medicine that the barber surgeons who performed it became a distinct profession. The red and white stripes of the barber pole are a remnant of this history. They represent the blood and the bandages of the bloodletting trade. We now know that bloodletting almost never helps and frequently kills. When you remove blood from a sick person, you are taking away the very cells that fight infection. You are reducing the oxygen-carrying capacity of the blood. You are weakening the heart and lowering blood pressure. You are making everything worse. But the Hippocratic physicians did not know this. They could not know this. They did not have microscopes to see blood cells. They did not have the germ theory of disease to explain infection. They did not have the concept of the immune system. All they had was a theory that seemed logical and observations that seemed to confirm it. Sometimes patients got better after bloodletting. This was not because of the treatment, but in spite of it. Many illnesses are self-limiting. The body heals itself and the patient recovers, and whoever was standing nearby with a bowl of blood takes the credit. Sometimes patients got worse. The physician would explain that the bleeding had not been sufficient. More blood needed to be removed. The treatment was intensified. The patient's chances of survival decreased. Sometimes patients died. The physician would shake his head sadly and say that the disease had been too advanced. If only they had sought treatment sooner. If only the bleeding had begun earlier. The system was unfalsifiable. Every outcome could be explained in a way that protected the theory. And so bloodletting persisted. It persisted through the fall of Rome. It persisted through the medieval period. It persisted through the Renaissance. It persisted into the 19th century. George Washington, the first president of the United States, almost certainly had his death hastened by aggressive bloodletting. He fell ill with what was probably a bacterial throat infection. His doctors removed nearly half of his blood over the course of a single day. He died that night. The men who killed him were the finest physicians in the nation. They were following the best medical practices of their time. They were doing exactly what Hippocrates and his followers would have recommended, and they were completely, catastrophically wrong. Let us stay in this world of humoral medicine for a while longer, because it was not just bloodletting that followed from this theory. The humoral system shaped every aspect of ancient and medieval medicine. If blood was the problem, you bled the patient. If phlegm was the problem, you gave medicines to make the patient vomit or to induce sweating. If bile was the problem, you prescribed powerful laxatives to purge the bowels. The goal was always the same: force the offending humor out of the body by whatever means necessary. You are now in medieval Europe. The year is 1348, and something terrible is happening. It begins in the port cities. Ships arrive from the east carrying more than cargo. They carry rats, and the rats carry fleas, and the fleas carry something that will kill 1/3 of everyone in Europe. You are in Florence, one of the wealthiest and most cultured cities in Christendom. The streets are lined with elegant buildings. The churches are filled with magnificent art. The markets overflow with goods from across the known world. But something is wrong. People are falling sick. It starts with a headache and a fever. Then comes the coughing. Then come the swellings. Great lumps appear in the armpits and groin. They grow to the size of eggs or apples. They turn black and begin to ooze blood and pus. The smell is indescribable, and then, within days, the person dies. You have heard rumors about this sickness. They say it came from the east. They say it spreads through bad air. They say it is a punishment from God for the sins of humanity. They say a lot of things. Nobody knows the truth. Now you are lying in bed. The swellings have appeared under your arms. The pain is like nothing you have ever experienced. Every breath is agony. Every heartbeat sends waves of fire through your body. A physician has come to see you. He is wearing a long robe soaked in vinegar. Over his face, he wears a mask stuffed with herbs and flowers. The mask has a long beak, giving him the appearance of some strange bird. This is protection, he believes, against the corrupted air that carries the disease. He examines your swellings from a careful distance. He does not want to touch you if he can avoid it. He has seen too many of his colleagues fall sick and die. His diagnosis is clear. Your body is overwhelmed with corrupt humors. The swellings are collections of poisonous matter that must be expelled. The treatment is violent. First, the physician lances your buboes. This means cutting open the swellings to release the foul matter inside. The pain makes you scream. Black blood and pus pour from the wounds. The smell fills the room. Then comes the bloodletting. Then come the purgatives, powerful medicines that cause explosive vomiting and diarrhea. Then come the poultices, mixtures of herbs and animal dung applied directly to the wounds. Everything the physician does is designed to help your body expel the corruption, and everything he does makes you weaker. The bloodletting drains your strength, the purgatives cause dehydration, the open wounds become infected with new bacteria. Your immune system, which is already fighting a losing battle against the plague, is now also dealing with the consequences of medical treatment. If you die, it will be hard to say whether the plague killed you or the cure did. This was the reality of the Black Death. Tens of millions of people died across Europe. The physicians of the time had no effective treatments to offer. Their theories were wrong. Their medicines were useless or harmful. The best thing many of them could do was provide comfort and hope, even if that hope was based on false premises. Some historians have argued that the Black Death was a turning point in European history. It killed so many people that labor became scarce. Wages rose. The rigid social hierarchies of the medieval period began to break down. In the long run, this may have set the stage for the Renaissance, the Reformation, and the rise of the modern world. But that is cold comfort if you are lying in a bed in Florence in 1348, waiting for morning and wondering if you will live to see it. Let us move forward again. The centuries pass, the Renaissance comes and goes, the printing press is invented. Columbus sails to the Americas. Luther nails his theses to the church door, and medicine remains largely unchanged. The humoral theory still dominates. Bloodletting is still the standard treatment. Physicians are still confidently prescribing cures that do not work. But something new is beginning to emerge. Some practitioners are starting to question the old authorities. They are starting to look at the human body with fresh eyes. They are starting to wonder if perhaps Galen and Hippocrates did not know everything. You are in Padua, Italy. The year is 1543. You are a medical student, young and eager, about to witness something that will change the history of medicine. A man named Andreas Vesalius is about to perform a public dissection. This is not unusual in itself. Dissections have been performed for centuries, but they have usually been theatrical events, with a professor reading from Galen while a barber surgeon does the actual cutting. The professor rarely even looks at the body. He already knows what is there because Galen told him. Vesalius is different. He performs the dissections himself. He looks at what is actually inside the human body, and he has discovered something disturbing. What he sees does not match what Galen wrote. Galen was wrong about many things. He was wrong about the shape of the liver. He was wrong about the structure of the heart. He was wrong about how blood moves through the body. For over 1,000 years, physicians have been treating patients based on an anatomy textbook that was fundamentally incorrect. Vesalius publishes his findings in a book called De Humani Corporis Fabrica, on the fabric of the human body. It is illustrated with stunning anatomical drawings. It shows the body as it really is, not as ancient authorities imagined it to be. This is the beginning of modern anatomy, but it is not yet the beginning of modern medicine. Knowing what the body looks like inside does not tell you how it works. It does not tell you what causes disease. It does not tell you how to cure the sick. Physicians will continue bloodletting for another 300 years. The humoral system shaped every aspect of ancient and medieval medicine. If blood was the problem, you bled the patient. If phlegm was the problem, you gave medicines to make the patient vomit or to induce sweating. If bile was the problem, you prescribed powerful laxatives to purge the bowels. The goal was always the same. Force the offending humor out of the body by whatever means necessary. You are now in medieval Europe. The year is 1348, and something terrible is happening. It begins in the port cities. Ships arrive from the east carrying more than cargo. They carry rats, and the rats carry fleas, and the fleas carry something that will kill 1/3 of everyone in Europe. You are in Florence, one of the wealthiest and most cultured cities in Christendom. The streets are lined with elegant buildings. The churches are filled with magnificent art. The markets overflow with goods from across the known world. But something is wrong. People are falling sick. It starts with a headache and a fever. Then comes the coughing. Then come the swellings. Great lumps appear in the armpits and groin. They grow to the size of eggs or apples. They turn black and begin to ooze blood and pus. The smell is indescribable, and then, within days, the person dies. You have heard rumors about this sickness. They say it came from the east. They say it spreads through bad air. They say it is a punishment from God for the sins of humanity. They say a lot of things. Nobody knows the truth. Now you are lying in bed. The swellings have appeared under your arms. The pain is like nothing you have ever experienced. Every breath is agony. Every heartbeat sends waves of fire through your body. A physician has come to see you. He is wearing a long robe soaked in vinegar. Over his face, he wears a mask stuffed with herbs and flowers. The mask has a long beak, giving him the appearance of some strange bird. This is protection, he believes, against the corrupted air that carries the disease. He examines your swellings from a careful distance. He does not want to touch you if he can avoid it. He has seen too many of his colleagues fall sick and die. His diagnosis is clear. Your body is overwhelmed with corrupt humors. The swellings are collections of poisonous matter that must be expelled. The treatment is violent. First, the physician lances your buboes. This means cutting open the swellings to release the foul matter inside. The pain makes you scream. Black blood and pus pour from the wounds. The smell fills the room. Then comes the bloodletting. Then come the purgatives, powerful medicines that cause explosive vomiting and diarrhea. Then come the poultices, mixtures of herbs and animal dung applied directly to the wounds. Everything the physician does is designed to help your body expel the corruption, and everything he does makes you weaker. The bloodletting drains your strength, the purgatives cause dehydration, the open wounds become infected with new bacteria. Your immune system, which is already fighting a losing battle against the plague, is now also dealing with the consequences of medical treatment. If you die, it will be hard to say whether the plague killed you or the cure did. This was the reality of the Black Death. Tens of millions of people died across Europe. The physicians of the time had no effective treatments to offer. Their theories were wrong. Their medicines were useless or harmful. The best thing many of them could do was provide comfort and hope, even if that hope was based on false premises. Some historians have argued that the Black Death was a turning point in European history. It killed so many people that labor became scarce. Wages rose. The rigid social hierarchies of the medieval period began to break down. In the long run, this may have set the stage for the Renaissance, the Reformation, and the rise of the modern world. But that is cold comfort if you are lying in a bed in Florence in 1348, waiting for morning and wondering if you will live to see it. Let us move forward again. The centuries pass. The Renaissance comes and goes. The printing press is invented. Columbus sails to the Americas. Luther nails his theses to the church door, and medicine remains largely unchanged. The humoral theory still dominates. Bloodletting is still the standard treatment. Physicians are still confidently prescribing cures that do not work. But something new is beginning to emerge. Some practitioners are starting to question the old authorities. They are starting to look at the human body with fresh eyes. They are starting to wonder if perhaps Galen and Hippocrates did not know everything. You are in Padua, Italy. The year is 1543. You are a medical student, young and eager, about to witness something that will change the history of medicine. A man named Andreas Vesalius is about to perform a public dissection. This is not unusual in itself. Dissections have been performed for centuries, but they have usually been theatrical events, with the professor reading from Galen while a barber surgeon does the actual cutting. The professor rarely even looks at the body. He already knows what is there because Galen told him. Vesalius is different. He performs the dissections himself. He looks at what is actually inside the human body, and he has discovered something disturbing. What he sees does not match what Galen wrote. Galen was wrong about many things. He was wrong about the shape of the liver. He was wrong about the structure of the heart. He was wrong about how blood moves through the body. For over 1,000 years, physicians have been treating patients based on an anatomy textbook that was fundamentally incorrect. Vesalius publishes his findings in a book called De Humani Corporis Fabrica, on the fabric of the human body. It is illustrated with stunning anatomical drawings. It shows the body as it really is, not as ancient authorities imagined it to be. This is the beginning of modern anatomy, but it is not yet the beginning of modern medicine. Knowing what the body looks like inside does not tell you how it works. It does not tell you what causes disease. It does not tell you how to cure the sick. Physicians will continue bloodletting for another 300 years. Mercury had been used as a medicine since ancient times. The Greeks and Romans applied it to skin conditions. The Arabs used it to treat various ailments, and when syphilis appeared, mercury became the treatment of choice. The logic seems sound. Syphilis caused sores. Mercury, when applied to the skin or taken internally, caused the body to salivate profusely. This salivation was interpreted as the body purging itself of diseased matter. The more you salivated, the more effective the treatment must be. You visit a doctor who specializes in these delicate matters. He examines you discreetly and confirms your fears. The treatment begins immediately. Mercury is applied to your skin as an ointment. It is also given to you as a pill. You are told to expect certain side effects. You begin to salivate. Not just a little moisture in the mouth. Rivers of saliva pour from your lips. You cannot eat. You cannot speak clearly. Your gums swell and bleed. Your teeth begin to loosen. Some of them fall out. Your breath takes on a metallic odor. Your hands begin to tremble. You have difficulty sleeping. When you do sleep, you have terrible nightmares. These are all signs the doctor assures you that the treatment is working. The disease is being expelled from your body. You must continue. What the doctor does not tell you is that mercury is a deadly poison. It accumulates in the body. It damages the kidneys, the liver, the nervous system, the brain. The trembling hands and the mental disturbances are not signs of healing. They are signs of mercury poisoning. Many syphilis patients died not from the disease, but from its treatment. A famous saying of the time captured the brutal reality. A night with Venus. A lifetime with Mercury. Venus was the goddess of love. Mercury was the god of thieves. The joke was grim. The meaning was clear. A moment of pleasure could lead to years of torture at the hands of doctors who were slowly killing you while claiming to save your life. Mercury treatment for syphilis continued well into the 20th century. It was only replaced when antibiotics were developed. Penicillin could actually cure syphilis. Mercury could only destroy the patient while pretending to treat the disease. This pattern repeats throughout the history of medicine. Doctors would develop theories. They would derive treatments from those theories. The treatments would fail, or worse, cause additional harm. But the failures would be explained away. The theories would dispense, and patients would continue to suffer. Let us now turn to another chapter in this dark history. Let us talk about childbirth. You are a woman in Vienna. The year is 1847. You are about to give birth to your first child. This should be a moment of joy. But instead, you are terrified, not of the pain of childbirth. Women have endured that since the beginning of time. You are terrified of what comes after. You have heard the stories. Every woman has heard the stories. The Vienna General Hospital has 2 maternity wards. The first clinic is staffed by medical students and doctors. The second clinic is staffed by midwives. Women beg to be admitted to the second clinic. They give birth in the streets rather than enter the first clinic. Because in the first clinic, mothers die. They die in horrible numbers. 1 in 6 women who gives birth there will be dead within a week. They call it childbed fever. It begins with a fever and chills. Then comes the abdominal pain, severe and unrelenting. Then comes the swelling and the discharge. Then comes death. No one knows what causes it. The doctors have theories, of course. They always have theories. Perhaps it is caused by bad air. Perhaps it is caused by the mother's emotional state. Perhaps it is caused by an imbalance of humors. Perhaps it is caused by the cold. A young doctor named Ignaz Semmelweis has been watching. He has been counting the deaths. He has been looking for patterns. And he has noticed something strange. The first clinic, run by doctors, has a death rate 5 times higher than the second clinic, run by midwives. Both clinics are in the same building. They share the same air, the same water, the same food. The only difference is who is doing the deliveries. What are the doctors doing that the midwives are not? Semmelweis observes carefully. He notices that the medical students and doctors often come directly from the autopsy room to the maternity ward. They examine the bodies of women who have died of childbed fever. They note the condition of the organs. They study the ravages of the disease. Then they walk down the hall and perform vaginal examinations on women who are about to give birth. They do not wash their hands. Why would they? The germ theory of disease does not exist yet. No one believes that invisible particles on a doctor's hands could cause illness. The idea seems absurd. Then something happens that changes everything. A colleague of Semmelweis, a doctor named Jakob Kulitschka, cuts his finger during an autopsy. Within days, he is dead. His symptoms are identical to childbed fever. Semmelweis is struck by the implication. The same disease that kills mothers is now killing his friend. And both deaths are connected to the autopsy room. What if the doctors are carrying something from the dead bodies to the living patients? What if their hands are contaminated with what Semmelweis calls cadaverous particles? What if washing hands could prevent deaths? He institutes a new policy. Before examining any patient, doctors and students must wash their hands in a solution of chlorinated lime. The results are immediate and dramatic. The death rate in the first clinic drops from 12 to 2%. Childbed fever almost disappears. Semmelweis has discovered the importance of hand hygiene decades before anyone understands why it works. He has saved countless lives, and for this he will be destroyed. The medical establishment does not believe him. They cannot believe him. To accept Semmelweis's findings would mean accepting that doctors had been killing their patients. It would mean accepting that the very men who are supposed to heal have been spreading death with their unwashed hands. The implications are too terrible. The blow to professional pride is too severe. The doctors reject the evidence. They attack Semmelweis personally. They call him a troublemaker and a crank. They accuse him of insulting the honor of the medical profession. Semmelweis grows increasingly frustrated. He writes angry letters to doctors across Europe. He accuses them of being murderers. He becomes erratic and unstable. Some historians believe he may have been suffering from early Alzheimer's disease. Others believe he was simply broken by the weight of what he knew and the refusal of his colleagues to listen. In 1865, Semmelweis is committed to a mental asylum. 2 weeks later, he is dead. The official cause is blood poisoning from a wound on his hand. There is a terrible irony in this. The man who discovered that hand contamination could kill died of a hand infection, possibly inflicted by the guards who beat him in the asylum. It would be another 2 decades before Louis Pasteur and Robert Koch would establish the germ theory of disease. Only then would the medical profession finally accept what Semmelweis had been trying to tell them. Tiny, invisible organisms cause infection. Cleanliness prevents the spread of these organisms. Hand washing saves lives. How many women died in those intervening years? How many mothers never held their babies because doctors refused to wash their hands? We cannot know the exact number. We only know that it was very, very large. This is perhaps the most painful lesson of medical history. It is not simply that doctors did not know things. It is that when someone discovered the truth, the profession often rejected it. Pride, tradition, and institutional inertia killed people just as surely as any disease. Let us continue into the 19th century. The Industrial Revolution is transforming society. Cities are growing at unprecedented rates. Factories are producing goods that were once made by hand. Railroads are connecting distant places, and medicine is about to enter a new era. But first, things will get worse. You are in London. The year is 1854. A terrible epidemic is sweeping through the city. People are dying by the thousands. The disease strikes suddenly. A person can be healthy in the morning and dead by nightfall. It begins with violent diarrhea. The body expels everything. Fluid pours out faster than it can be replaced. The skin turns blue. The eyes sink into the skull. The patient dies of dehydration while doctors stand helplessly by. This is cholera. Like plague before it, cholera is a disease that thrives in filthy conditions. It spreads through contaminated water, and like plague, it forces society to confront uncomfortable truths about poverty, sanitation, and public health. The dominant theory about cholera is the miasma theory. Physicians believe the disease is caused by bad air rising from rotting organic matter. The solution, according to this theory, is to eliminate the sources of foul smells, clean up the garbage, drain the cesspools, remove the dead animals from the streets. These measures are helpful, but for the wrong reasons. They reduce cholera not because they improve the air, but because they sometimes reduce contact with contaminated water. But the miasma theory is wrong, and as long as doctors believe it, they cannot solve the problem. A physician named John Snow does not believe the miasma theory. He has been studying cholera outbreaks for years. He has noticed that the disease clusters in certain areas. It affects some households and spares others on the same street. It follows patterns that do not match the distribution of bad air. Snow develops an alternative theory. He believes cholera is transmitted through water. He believes people get sick by drinking contaminated water or eating food that has been washed in contaminated water. If he is right, then the solution is not to clean up the air, but to ensure clean water supplies. In the summer of 1854, cholera breaks out in the Soho district of London. Hundreds of people die within days. Snow begins to investigate. He goes from house to house, mapping where the deaths occur. He creates a famous chart showing the location of every death, and he notices something. The deaths cluster around a single water pump on Broad Street. The people who die are getting their water from that pump. The people who live nearby but use different water sources are largely spared. Snow presents his findings to the local authorities. He argues that the pump handle should be removed to prevent people from using the contaminated water. The authorities are skeptical. The miasma theory is well established. Snow is just one voice against the consensus. But the evidence is compelling, and people are dying every day. Finally, the authorities agree to remove the pump handle. The outbreak subsides. This is one of the founding moments of epidemiology, the science of how diseases spread through populations. Snow did not know exactly what was in the water. The cholera bacterium would not be identified for another 30 years. But he knew that something in the water was killing people, and he knew that controlling that water source could stop the deaths. It was a triumph of observation over theory, a triumph of evidence over authority, a triumph of a single determined investigator over the entrenched beliefs of his profession. But even after Snow's work, the miasma theory persisted. Old ideas die hard. It would take decades more before the germ theory of disease was fully accepted. And it would take even longer before the practical implications were fully implemented. Clean water, proper sewage disposal, and public health measures have saved more lives than any drug or surgery. But these victories came slowly, against tremendous resistance. The late 19th century finally brought the revolution that medicine had been waiting for. The germ theory of disease was established. Pasteur proved that microscopic organisms could cause disease. Koch developed methods for identifying specific bacteria. Lister introduced antiseptic surgery. For the first time in history, doctors began to understand what actually caused many illnesses. But understanding is not the same as curing. You are in a hospital in Boston. The year is 1890. You have been diagnosed with pneumonia. This is a death sentence as often as not. The doctors know that pneumonia is caused by bacteria. They can look through a microscope and see the tiny round organisms clustering in samples from your lungs. They know what is killing you, but they cannot stop it. There are no antibiotics. Those will not be developed for another 50 years. There are no vaccines against the bacteria causing your infection. All the doctors can do is try to support your body while it fights the disease on its own. They keep you warm. They make sure you have fluids. They give you medicines to reduce your fever, but they cannot kill the bacteria, and so they wait with you through the long nights. They count your breaths. They take your temperature every few hours. They watch for the crisis, the moment when the fever either breaks or the patient dies. This is what medicine looked like at the turn of the 20th century. Better understanding, better diagnosis, still very limited treatment. Let us enter the new century now. The year is 1918. The world is at war. Millions of soldiers are fighting in the trenches of France. The casualties are staggering, but something even worse is about to happen. A new disease is spreading. It starts quietly, in places that no one is paying attention to. Army camps in Kansas, villages in China, courts in West Africa. No one knows exactly where it began. but by the spring of 1918, it is moving fast. This is influenza, but it is not like any flu anyone has seen before. Normal influenza kills the very old and the very young. This flu kills healthy adults in the prime of life. It kills them quickly. A person can feel fine in the morning and be dead by nightfall. The symptoms are terrifying: high fever, violent coughing, bleeding from the nose and mouth, and a strange blue tint to the skin as the lungs fail to deliver oxygen. People drown in their own fluids. You are a nurse in Philadelphia. The epidemic has arrived. The hospitals are overwhelmed. Beds line the hallways. Patients lie on the floor. The morgue is full and bodies are stacking up faster than they can be buried. You work shifts of 16, 18, 20 hours. You watch patient after patient die. There is nothing you can do. The doctors are as helpless as you are. They try bloodletting on some patients, reverting to the old remedies in desperation. They try mercury and arsenic. They try alcohol and quinine. Nothing works. The virus, unseen and unknown, does its work. Between 50 and 100 million people die worldwide, more than died in the war, more than have died in any epidemic since the Black Death, and humanity is powerless to stop it. This is a humbling moment in the history of medicine. For all the progress of the previous century, for all the discoveries of Pasteur and Koch and Lister, the world is still vulnerable to invisible enemies it cannot see and cannot fight. The 1918 pandemic will eventually end. The virus will mutate into less deadly forms. The survivors will develop immunity. The world will move on. But the lesson is clear. Medicine has come a long way. Medicine still has a long way to go. Let us move forward one more time. We are entering the era of modern medicine, the era of antibiotics and vaccines, the era of surgery performed under sterile conditions, the era of imaging technology that can see inside the living body, the era of diseases conquered and lifespans extended. But even in this era, the old demons persist. You are in a hospital room. The year is 1985. You are watching a young man die. He is in his 20s, handsome and intelligent. He is wasted away to almost nothing. His skin is covered with purple lesions. He cannot eat. He cannot breathe without assistance, and no one will touch him. This is AIDS, a new disease that appeared suddenly and spread through certain communities before anyone understood what was happening. Doctors know now that it is caused by a virus. They know that it destroys the immune system. They know that without an immune system, the body is helpless against infections that healthy people fight off without even noticing. But they do not know how to stop it. The first cases appeared in 1981. Within a few years, it has become a global pandemic. And for the first decade, there is no effective treatment. People diagnosed means death. Not immediately, but inevitably. A slow, wasting death as infection after infection attacks a defenseless body. This young man has been sick for 2 years. He has watched many of his friends die. He knows his own death is coming, and he knows there is nothing anyone can do. The long nights return, the waiting for morning, the terrible uncertainty, just like ancient Mesopotamia, just like medieval Florence. Just like all the other moments in history when humanity faced a disease it could not defeat. The AIDS crisis revealed something important about medicine and about society. It showed that even in the modern world, disease could outpace our ability to respond. It showed that some populations could be ignored while they died. It showed that stigma and prejudice could be as deadly as any virus. Gay men, intravenous drug users, and others affected by the early epidemic were often treated as less than human. Their suffering was dismissed. Their deaths were seen as somehow deserved. This is a stain on the history of medicine and public health. But the AIDS crisis also showed something else. It showed that people could fight back. Activists demanded attention, funding, and research. Scientists worked around the clock to understand the virus and develop treatments, and eventually they succeeded. By the mid-1990s, new drugs were developed that could suppress the virus. AIDS was transformed from a death sentence into a manageable chronic condition. People who once had months to live now had decades. This is one of the great triumphs of modern medicine. It is a reminder of what we are capable of when we commit resources and attention to a problem. But it took too long. Too many people died waiting for treatments that came too late. And the pandemic is not over. Around the world, millions of people still live with HIV. Millions more have died since those first cases in 1981. The story continues. Let us step back now and consider what we have seen. We have traveled from ancient Mesopotamia to modern hospitals. We have watched physicians apply leeches and pray to gods. We have seen treatments that tortured patients while claiming to heal them. We have witnessed epidemics that killed millions while doctors stood helplessly by. What can we learn from all of this? First, we can learn humility. The doctors of the past were not fools. They were intelligent, dedicated people working with the best information available to them. They were wrong, but they did not know they were wrong. They were certain they were right. This should give us pause. What are we certain about today that future generations will look back on with horror? What treatments are we prescribing that are causing more harm than good? We do not know. We cannot know. We are trapped in our own time, just as our ancestors were trapped in theirs. Second, we can learn about the importance of questioning authority. Progress in medicine has almost always come from people who are willing to challenge the consensus. Vesalius, who dared to say that Galen was wrong. Semmelweis, who dared to say that doctors were killing patients. Snow, who dared to say that water, not air, was spreading disease. These people were often attacked, ridiculed, and ignored. But they were right, and eventually their ideas prevailed. Third, we can learn about the importance of evidence. The humoral theory persisted for 2,000 years because it seemed logical and because doctors could always explain away failures. It was only replaced when better methods of investigation revealed its flaws. Careful observation, controlled experiments, statistical analysis. These are the tools that have transformed medicine. Not intuition, not tradition, not authority. Evidence. Fourth, we can learn about the importance of compassion. Throughout history, the best thing many doctors could offer was simple human presence, sitting with the sick, holding their hands, listening to their fears, providing comfort in the face of death. This is not nothing. This is immensely valuable. Even today, with all our technology, the human connection between caregiver and patient remains essential. Machines cannot replace empathy. Finally, we can learn about the importance of public health. The greatest advances in human health have come not from heroic doctors performing dramatic surgeries, but from unglamorous measures like clean water, proper sanitation, vaccination, and nutrition. These measures are boring. They do not make for exciting stories, but they have saved more lives than all the brilliant physicians in history combined. We tend to focus on the individual drama of illness and recovery. We love stories of miraculous cures and groundbreaking discoveries. But the real miracle is that most of us never get sick in the first place. We drink water without cholera. We eat food without typhoid. We live in cities without plague. These achievements are invisible. They are taken for granted, but they represent the true triumph of medical progress. Let us return now to the bedside. It is late at night. You are lying in the darkness, waiting for morning. This is where we began, and this is where we will end. Because, for all the changes in medicine over the centuries, this experience remains the same. The fear of the unknown, the hope for recovery, the long hours of uncertainty. You are in a modern hospital. The year is the present. You have been admitted with an illness that the doctors are still trying to diagnose. Tests have been ordered, blood has been drawn, scans have been scheduled. But right now, in the middle of the night, there is nothing to do but wait. The hospital room is quiet. Machines hum softly. Monitors display numbers you do not fully understand. Occasionally, a nurse comes in to check on you, adjusting an IV, taking your temperature, asking if you need anything. This is so different from the sick rooms of history. And yet, in some ways, it is exactly the same. The waiting, the uncertainty, the strange timelessness of illness, where minutes stretch into hours and hours dissolve into an endless present. You think about all the people who have lain in beds like this throughout all of human history. The Mesopotamian merchant waiting for the Ashipu spells to work, the Egyptian patient drinking medicines mixed with dung, the Greek patient recovering from bloodletting, the plague victim in Florence praying for dawn, the mother in Vienna wondering if she would live to see her child grow up, the cholera patient in London watching the light fade from the world. All of them lay in the darkness, just like you. All of them wondered what was happening inside their bodies. All of them hoped for morning. You are connected to them across the centuries, united by the universal experience of human vulnerability. We are all fragile. We are all mortal. We are all ultimately at the mercy of forces we cannot fully control. This is not a comforting thought, but perhaps there is a kind of comfort in the connection itself, in knowing that you are not alone in your fear, in knowing that countless others have faced the same darkness and found their way through. Some survived, many did not, but all of them were human beings like you, trying to make sense of their suffering, hoping for another day. The night passes slowly. You drift in and out of sleep. Dreams mix with waking thoughts in strange combinations. You dream of ancient temples and medieval streets. You dream of doctors with bloodied hands and patients with empty eyes. You dream of all the suffering that has come before. And then, gradually, you become aware of something, a change in the quality of the darkness. A lightening at the edges of the window, the first grey hints of dawn. Morning is coming. You have made it through another night. This does not mean you are healed. It does not mean the doctors will find answers. It does not mean everything will be all right. But it means you have survived one more night. And for now, that is enough. The sun rises. Light floods into the room. The machines continue their soft humming. The monitors display their numbers. A new day begins. Somewhere down the hall, a doctor is reviewing your chart. Test results are coming in. Decisions will be made. Treatments will be attempted. The ancient struggle between illness and recovery continues. But for this one moment, you can simply be grateful for the light. Grateful for the morning. Grateful for the chance to see another day. This is what our ancestors wanted too, across all the centuries and all the failed treatments and all the wrong theories. This simple thing. Another morning. Another chance, the opportunity to continue. You close your eyes and let the warmth of the sun touch your face. Whatever comes next, you are here. You are alive, and morning has come at last. The history of medicine is a story of failure and progress intertwined. For every discovery that saved lives, there were centuries of error. For every hero who challenged the consensus, there were thousands who followed tradition into disaster. We are the inheritors of this history. We benefit from the lessons learned through the suffering of countless others. We have antibiotics because people died of infections. We have vaccines because children died of preventable diseases. We have clean water because cholera killed people by the millions. Every advance was purchased with human pain. Every breakthrough came too late for those who died waiting. This is the terrible truth of medical progress. We learn from our mistakes. But the learning takes time, and while we learn, people suffer and die. Tonight, as you drift toward sleep, consider this. You are living in a golden age of medicine, not a perfect age, not an age without problems, but an age where many of the diseases that terrified our ancestors have been conquered or controlled. Smallpox, which killed hundreds of millions, has been eradicated. Polio, which paralyzed children, has nearly disappeared. Many cancers that were once death sentences can now be treated. Organ transplants give new life to the dying. Genetic therapies are beginning to address diseases at their most fundamental level. We have come so far, and yet challenges remain. New diseases emerge, like the coronavirus that swept the world in 2020. Old diseases develop resistance to our drugs. Mental health conditions affect millions who do not receive adequate treatment. The benefits of medical progress are not equally distributed. Around the world, people still die of diseases that are easily preventable or treatable. The work is not done. It will never be done. Because for every problem we solve, new problems arise. Because the human body remains immensely complex and our understanding of it, for all its advances, remains incomplete. Because we are still, in many ways, fumbling in the dark. But we are fumbling with better tools now, with microscopes and genetic sequences and imaging technology, with the scientific method and peer-reviewed research and global collaboration. We are still making mistakes. We are still sometimes causing harm when we mean to help. But we're also learning faster than ever before, and the pace of progress is accelerating. Perhaps the doctors of 100 years from now will look back at our treatments with the same horror we feel when we think of bloodletting and mercury. Perhaps they will wonder how we could have been so blind. Perhaps they will judge us harshly. That is all right. That is how progress works. Each generation stands on the shoulders of those who came before. Each generation sees a little further. Each generation learns from the mistakes of the past. We are not the end of the story. We are just another chapter. Another group of humans doing the best we can with what we know. Another collection of doctors and patients and caregivers trying to push back against the darkness. The darkness will always be there. Illness will always exist. Death will always come in the end, but so will the morning, so will the light, so will the tireless human effort to heal, to comfort, to survive. This is the story of medicine, not a story of unbroken triumph, not a story of heroes without flaws, a story of struggle, a story of failure and persistence, a story of waiting for morning and sometimes seeing it arrive. You are part of this story now. Whether you are healthy or sick, whether you are a doctor or a patient, whether you live to be very old or face your final illness soon, you are connected to all of humanity through the universal experience of the body, through its joys and its pains, through its strength and its fragility, through its inevitable decline and its surprising resilience. We are all in this together, across time and space, across cultures and centuries. All of us waiting for morning, all of us hoping for another day. Let this thought comfort you as you drift towards sleep. You are not alone. You have never been alone. The darkness that surrounds you has surrounded billions of others, and the light that will come has come for billions before. You are part of the great human story, the story of our struggle against illness and death, the story of our persistence in the face of uncertainty, the story of our refusal to give up hope. Morning will come, it always does. Hold on to that, let it carry you through the night. And when you wake, remember those who came before. The patients who suffered through treatments we now know were useless. The doctors who tried their best with knowledge we now know was wrong. The families who watched and waited and hoped. They are all part of you now. Their story is your story, and your story will become part of the story of those who come after. The centuries have taught us many lessons. Some of these lessons are about medicine specifically. Wash your hands, sterilize your instruments, test your treatments with controlled experiments, listen to evidence, not authority, be humble about what you do not know. But other lessons are broader. They're about what it means to be human. They're about how we face uncertainty and fear. They are about how we care for one another in times of suffering. In every era, there have been people who sat by the bedsides of the sick, not doctors or nurses necessarily, just ordinary people, family members, friends, neighbors. They could not cure the illness. They often could not even ease the symptoms, but they could be present. They could hold a hand. They could speak words of comfort. They could simply be there, in the darkness, waiting for morning together. This is perhaps the most ancient form of medicine, the medicine of human presence, the medicine of love and connection. And it remains as powerful today as it was thousands of years ago. We now have machines that can breathe for us when our lungs fail. We have devices that can shock our hearts back to life when they stop. We have drugs that can target specific molecules within specific cells. These are miracles, but they are not enough. Because illness is not just a biological event, it is an experience. It is something that happens to a person, not just a body. And persons need more than treatments. They need understanding. They need compassion. They need the knowledge that they matter. The best doctors have always known this. Even in ancient times, when their treatments were ineffective, the wisest healers understood the importance of the relationship between physician and patient. They understood that hope could be therapeutic. They understood that despair could kill. They understood that healing was not just about curing disease, but about caring for the whole person. We should remember this in an age of technology and specialization. In an age where medicine is often practiced in 12-minute appointments. In an age where screens sometimes replace eye contact. We should remember that the sick need more than data. They need someone to see them, to hear them, to acknowledge their fear and their pain. This is something all of us can do, not just professionals. Anyone can sit with a sick friend. Anyone can listen to someone describe their symptoms and fears. Anyone can offer the simple gift of attention. This is not nothing. This is everything. It is the thread that connects us to all those who have cared for the sick throughout history. The thread that makes us human. As you lie in the darkness tonight, think about the people who care for you. The family members and friends who would sit by your bedside if you were ill. The doctors and nurses who would do their best to help. The strangers who would donate blood or organs if you needed them. You are surrounded by a web of care and concern, some of it visible, some of it invisible, but all of it real. You are not alone. You have never been alone, even in the darkest moments, even when illness strikes and the body fails. There are others who care, others who will hold your hand, others who will wait with you for morning. This is the great gift of human community, the knowledge that we do not face the darkness alone, the knowledge that others have been here before us and others will come after. The knowledge that love persists even when medicine fails. Hold on to this. Let it comfort you. Let it carry you into sleep. And when you wake, carry it with you into the world. Be someone who sits by bedsides. Be someone who holds hands. Be someone who waits through the long nights with those who are afraid. This is what we owe to all those who came before. This is what we owe to all those who will come after. This is what it means to be human. The night is deep now. The world outside your window is quiet. The distant sounds of cars and voices have faded. Even the machines in your room seem to hum more softly. This is the hour when time seems to stop, when the distance between past and present dissolves, when you can almost hear the voices of those who came before. They are whispering to you across the centuries. The Mesopotamian merchant with his clay amulets and knotted cords. The Egyptian patient with his herbal drinks and magical spells, the Greek philosopher debating the nature of health and disease, the Roman soldier bleeding in a military hospital far from home, the medieval monk copying medical texts by candlelight, the Renaissance anatomist cutting into a human body for the first time, the Enlightenment physician arguing for reason over superstition, the Victorian surgeon operating without anesthesia, the 20th century researcher peering through a microscope at invisible enemies. All of them are part of you now, their struggles and their discoveries, their failures and their triumphs, their long nights and their hopeful mornings. They have given you the world you live in, a world where diseases that once killed millions are now prevented with a simple injection, a world where surgeons can repair hearts and replace joints, a world where information about health is available to anyone with an internet connection. This is their gift to you. Bought with their suffering, paid for with their lives. Honor it, remember it, be grateful for it, and pass it on. Because the story is not over. The next chapter is being written now, in hospitals and laboratories around the world, in the minds of researchers who are working on problems that have not yet been solved, in the hearts of caregivers who show up every day to tend to the sick. The work continues. The long struggle against illness and death goes on. And you are part of it, whether you know it or not. Whether you work in medicine or not, you are part of this great human endeavor. Every time you get vaccinated, you are participating. Every time you donate blood, you are contributing. Every time you support research or vote for public health measures or simply wash your hands, you are playing your part. We are all in this together. We have always been in this together, from the first human who cared for a sick child to the last human who will draw breath on this planet. We are one family, connected by our shared vulnerability. Let this thought give you peace. Let it ease the fear that comes in the night. Let it remind you that whatever happens to your body, you are part of something larger, something that began before you were born and will continue after you are gone, something that gives meaning to the struggle, something that transforms suffering into purpose. You are not just a patient. You are not just a body fighting disease. You are a human being connected to all other human beings, past, present, and future. This connection is real. This connection matters. This connection will endure long after your particular illness is forgotten, long after your particular body has returned to the earth. The great human story will go on, and you will have been part of it. One thread in the vast tapestry, one voice in the ancient chorus, one light in the endless darkness. That is enough. That is more than enough. That is everything. The hour grows late. Your eyes are heavy now. The weight of all these centuries is pressing gently down, not crushing you, cradling you, rocking you towards sleep like a child in a mother's arms. You can let go now. Let go of the fear. Let go of the uncertainty. Let go of the need to understand everything. Let go of the need to control. The body knows things the mind does not. It knows how to heal when healing is possible. It knows how to fight with a wisdom older than language. It knows how to rest, how to repair, how to regenerate. Trust it. Your body has carried you this far. Through all the days of your life, through all the minor illnesses and the close calls, through all the times you were sick and recovered, your body has been your faithful companion. Thank it now. Thank your heart for beating without being asked. Thank your lungs for breathing without being reminded. Thank your immune system for fighting battles you never even knew about. These miracles happen constantly, every second of every day. While you sleep and while you wake, while you worry and while you forget to worry, the body works. It has been working since before you were born. It will keep working until the end. And when it finally stops, that too will be part of the story. The natural conclusion, the return to the earth from which we all came. But not yet, not tonight. Tonight, you are still here, still breathing, still part of the living world, still connected to all those who love you and all those you love. Hold on to that. Let it warm you. Let it carry you through the darkness. And when you wake in the morning, remember this moment. Remember the peace that came when you finally let go. Remember the comfort of knowing you are not alone. Remember the gratitude for another day. These are the gifts of the night. The gifts that illness sometimes brings. The gift of perspective. The gift of appreciation. The gift of knowing what truly matters. Health is not everything, but when it is threatened, we remember how precious it is. Life is not eternal. But when it is uncertain, we remember how much we want it. Love is not always spoken. But when we face our mortality, we remember how deeply it runs. These are the lessons the long nights teach us. These are the wisdom that comes from waiting for morning. May you carry this wisdom with you. May it make you kinder. May it make you more patient. May it help you see the struggles of others with compassion. Because everyone is fighting battles you cannot see. Everyone has lain in the darkness, afraid. Everyone has waited for morning. Be gentle with one another. We are all fragile. We are all doing our best. We are all in need of mercy. Sleep now. Let the night do its work. Let the body rest and restore. Let the mind quiet and settle. Tomorrow will bring what it brings. You will face it when it comes. For now there is only this moment, this breath, this heartbeat, this darkness that is not empty but full of presence, full of all those who have gone before, full of all those who will come after, full of the great mystery of existence. Rest in that mystery. Let it hold you. You are safe here. You have always been safe, in ways you could not see. Sleep now. Morning is coming. The first light appears at the edge of the horizon, soft and grey at first, then pink and gold, then the full glory of sunrise. Another day begins. You stir in your bed. The night has passed. The waiting is over for now. The world outside your window is coming to life. Birds are singing. People are waking. The machinery of civilization is grinding into motion, and you are still here, still breathing, still part of it all. The doctors will come with their tests and their treatments. The nurses will come with their care and their competence. The day will bring whatever it brings, but for this one moment, you can simply be grateful. Grateful for the morning. Grateful for the light. Grateful for the chance to see another day. All those who came before you wanted this same thing. The Mesopotamian merchant and the Egyptian patient, the Greek philosopher and the Roman soldier, the medieval plague victim and the Renaissance scholar, the Victorian patient and the modern cancer survivor. All of them wanted to see the morning. Some of them did. Many of them did not, but all of them hoped. And that hope connects you to them now. Across all the centuries and all the suffering and all the progress, the hope for another day, the hope for healing, the hope for life. This hope is not naive. It does not deny the reality of death. It does not pretend that everything will be all right. It simply says that this moment matters. That being alive matters. That the light coming through the window matters. And it does. It matters more than you can know. The universe is vast and indifferent. The stars burn without caring whether we live or die. The galaxies spin without noticing our presence. And yet here we are, conscious, aware, able to feel joy and sorrow, love and fear, hope and despair. This is remarkable. This is miraculous. This is the greatest gift of all. You have been given the gift of experience, of knowing that you exist, of feeling the warmth of the sun on your skin, of hearing the voices of those you love, of tasting food and smelling flowers and touching another human hand. These experiences are fleeting. They will end, but they are real, and they are yours. No one can take them from you. No illness can erase them. They are written into the fabric of your being. They are part of who you are, and they connect you to everyone who has ever lived, because they have felt it too, the warmth of the sun, the touch of a hand, the hope for morning. We are not separate. We are not alone. We are one family, sharing one story, living one life in countless different forms. Remember this. Carry it with you. Let it guide you through whatever comes next, whether this illness passes and you return to full health, whether you face a long recovery, whether the news is difficult. Whatever happens, you are part of something larger, something beautiful, something eternal. The morning has come. Go gently into this new day and know that you are loved.